In this video, we are going to discuss whether socialism is a good idea. Later in the video, there is a surprisingly strong statement about social democracy by Rudolf Steiner. Democratic Socialist or Social Democrat Bernie Sanders popularized socialism in the United States by proposing socialist programs that would benefit many voters. Bernie appeared in the Democratic Party primary as Robin Hood, promising to take from the rich and give to the poor. The success of Bernie's message inspired more socialist candidates. Recently, a socialist defeated a longtime party congressman. The winning socialist candidate was embraced by Democratic Party Chairman Tom Perez as the future of the Democratic Party. If the Democratic Party is turning to socialism as the solution to the critical problems we face today, we need to ask, what is socialism? A search of socialism finds that there are many socialisms. Here are a few. There are many more socialist groups that don't use socialism in their name, but use words like peoples, citizens, workers, or even progressives. There is not a clear definition of socialism, as each group has its own beliefs. Typically, a group of socialists will hold a conference to reach agreement on a set of beliefs. This agreement establishes the members' beliefs, self-identity, and task. So there is not a single socialism, but many collectives of group thinkers. The socialist theory is that a collective is more powerful than an individual. By joining a collective, the individual becomes more powerful, safer, more prosperous, and secure. This is why the strengthening of the collective is more important than personal individuality. Alexander Vanette said that there was actually a simple and true definition of socialism. Alexander Vanette, who claimed to have been the first person to use the term, defines socialism simply as the opposite of individualism. Rudolf Steiner puts it bluntly, saying that socialism hates the individual. Socialism hinders the individual at every step in the unfolding of his abilities. It hates the individual. Educator John Dewey questions if it is even possible to turn an individualist into a socialist. You can't make socialist out of individualist. Children who know how to think for themselves spoil the harmony of the collective society. Let's compare some general characteristics of an individualist with a collectivist. The individualist is more aware of himself as an I and uses the word I often. The collectivist avoids the word I and prefers to use we. The individualist classifies others as individuals. The collectivist classifies others as either members of their in-group or those outside their group. The individualist emphasizes rationality. The collectivist emphasizes relatedness or connectedness with the group. The individualist encourages each person to express their personal opinions. The collectivist discourages dissenting opinions that disrupt group harmony. The individualist's ultimate goal is self-actualization, the realization of one's human potential. The collectivist's ultimate goal is group harmony and consensus. The individualist strives for independence and the freedom to control one's life. The collectivist strives for interdependence and the duties group membership entails. Rudolf Steiner loved to discuss politics and the social and cultural issues of the day. He participated in political discussions within socialist circles, where he strongly defended freedom. But Steiner's libertarian views found little support from the socialists. Now, it is interesting to note that in these socialist circles, one thing that is of capital importance for our epoch and for the understanding of this epoch was taboo. I could speak on any subject, for when one speaks factually, one can speak today on any and every subject, except that of freedom. I had only a single follower who always supported me whenever I delivered my libertarian tirades, as the others were pleased to call them. Steiner believed that peace was possible only if it was based on human freedom. Freedom is the only word which has a ring of immediate truth today. If, instead of such slogans as peace founded on justice or peace imposed by force, people would only speak of peace based on freedom, then this word would echo round the world and kindle in the hearts of all a sense of security. Socialism will never bring peace because it depends on the use of force. These socialists will use force to redistribute the wealth through taxation. The socialists will use force to maintain social harmony by suppressing dissent through political correctness and censorship. These socialists will use force to implement social justice according to race, gender, and class, setting one group against another. A peaceful society is only possible when each individual feels a sense of security that their freedom is assured. The democratic socialists place the responsibility of human development on the state rather than the individual. The socialists do not understand that human development only happens with individual effort. The human being remains in an undeveloped state unless he takes hold of his own transformative ideal content within and transforms himself through his own energy. Nature makes man merely a natural creature. Society makes him a law-abiding being. Only he can make himself into a free being. At a certain stage in his development, nature releases man from its chains. Society carries its development a stage further, but he alone can give himself the final polish. The democratic socialists want to end the challenge of competition by making all the basic necessities of life free, and to replace the merit system with affirmative action and hiring quotas based on race and gender. This heartfelt theory lacks an understanding of human nature. Individuals should assert themselves in a fully free battle of competition. Socialism has no sense for this battle of competition. It hinders the individual at every step in the unfolding of his abilities. The battle of competition is needed as part of human development. Socialism stifles the development of success skills by making success dependent on the state rather than individual achievement. The rise of socialism does, however, raise important questions. Where do we find the inner resources needed to stand up and develop ourselves? How do we build a social order that reacts favorably upon the individual? Steiner intended his philosophy of freedom to answer these questions. When we look at the present epoch and the new trends, we perceive that what is lacking is precisely what the philosophy of freedom seeks to achieve. On a basis of freedom of thought, free thinking, the philosophy of freedom establishes a science of freedom which is fully in accord with natural science, yet reaches beyond it. Socialism lacks any possibility of arriving at a science of freedom. Steiner's science of freedom is intended to lay the foundations of ethical individualism and of a social and political life. When we know what human freedom is, we have the knowledge to guide human development and to build social and political structures that will be supportive of freedom. No person, group, or collective that tells us what to think and how to act can make us free. Socialism will always fail because it turns away from the individual and seeks to empower the state or collective instead. Steiner goes so far as to say that social democracy is a threat to human evolution and will turn the world into turmoil. Rudolf Steiner warned that the inevitable consequence of social democracy is the use of force to suppress liberty. Socialism is not rooted in the evolution of humanity. It will throw the world into turmoil. Those who bear the responsibility for the errors it commits are those who have allowed it or wished to allow it. Steiner recognized that the highest peak reached in the evolution of man is the free ethical individualist. Human morality is not the result of some kind of supernatural intervention. It is a continuation of Darwin's theory of evolution on into the moral life. The same ethical individualism which I have developed on the basis of the principles in the philosophy of freedom might be equally well developed on the basis of the theory of evolution. The final result would be the same, only the path by which it was reached would be different. Ethical individualism, then, is the crown of the edifice that Darwin and Haeckel have erected for natural science. It is the theory of evolution applied to the moral life. The evolutionary destiny of each human being is to become ethical, to become an ethical individualist or free spirit. What is needed today are self-determined and independent thinking, free individuals who will do what they consider to be right. Only a free individual can be truly moral. Socialism rejects individual moral responsibility in favor of obedience to the collective will. The ethical individualist remains true to himself and only obeys himself. He is driven by the strength of his individual will. This is possible by living ethically, according to our highest ideals. Living ethically empowers a strong individual will that can overcome all resistance.